We are back. Monday Night Live chat. My hair looks horrible. Anyways, I love that intro song. Such a chill song. Just, makes you want to vibe. Right. Welcome to episode 46. We are talking about what makes a VIP customer. Do you have VIP customers? Put it in the chat if you do. Our sponsors, Window Clean Resource, greatest supplier on the whole entire universe. Wow, I got a big, oh man, that's not good. Anyways, we got another sponsor. Yeah, nice. Not a hickey. And our other sponsor, Jobber. An amazing CRM for your business. If you want to get organized, check out Jobber. There's a link in the description for both Window Clean Resource and Jobber. Anyways, Jersey, how's it going?
It's going fantastic. I like the clean. You don't look like you're even in pajamas today. You're like in
pajamas. Yeah.
Fancy jersey. I didn't even know you were into sports with jerseys.
Kind of have a part going on here. It looks really bad.
What is going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm really into the Denver Nuggets right now because do you know who the Denver Nuggets are?
No, that's hockey. No, basketball, right?
Well, our hockey team's doing really good too. We both won the first round, so we're it's pretty awesome, man.
I see you're diehard fan when they're doing
I just got this jersey. Yep, I just got it. Jokic has been here for like 8 to 10 years, but they're just doing good, so why not?
And by the way, if you're here and you're watching or listening and you have any VIP customers, if you want to sneak the name in or, hint the name, do it because here is your chance to brag on everybody else about your awesome clientele.
But what I think is interesting though about I've actually never thought about this until today, how stupid as that sounds, but what would make a customer a VIP customer? Like that customer that makes you drop everything and when they call, you're there as far as getting it clean. Yeah. We had a customer where we did 15 to 20 dealerships. And when they called, we were there. We made time on a Saturday or Sunday and just got it done.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had any of those. I think you have, though. You've talked about it a little bit.
My favorite customers are the ones who are just super chill. And they're just hey, we need this done. Get it done. Cool. I trust you. Do your thing. Those for me were always the VIP ones because I knew I want to do them. I don't want to mess around with all these other people and do those ones. I just love they just have you do stuff. And they're yeah, if you think it's done, do it. Charge me whatever, man. They trust you so that in turn you feel respected and then you just want to do things for them. So it's the right way to do it.
The customers are going to tip high at the very end of everybody wants to go to that house. When it gets scheduled, you're okay, I want to do. If I don't get to go to that, I'd be very, very mad.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, this is years ago, but I had one of our customers and I forget his name now, but he was the guy who developed retina scanning and crazy weird things. He's just the inventor guy. Anyway, on one of the Fridays, our main crew wasn't there. And I was this is weird. The crew's not there. What's going on? And the other dudes traded him for his slot on that day because they had a commercial project that they were doing on that day. And they moved it to Saturday and this other crew took it so that they could have that one. So they traded him an off day for that crew so they could take that dude because they knew he just throws hundreds at them. Dude. I was it's all getting done and nothing bothered me about it. But I was you smart son of a gun. You knew. They knew.
Have you ever had to sign an NDA?
Yes, but not for exciting things.
Oh, really?
It was
no customers.
Yeah, well, for customers, but not they're a famous movie star. It was they're the CEO of a company and they don't want their home to be talked about or whatever, like dumb, weird things.
Yeah. I did. I cleaned once a guy who was a UFC champion, but he wasn't there. And I saw his photos and I was super creepy and grabbed like one of the photos and went up to like Jim. I was like, you know this guy? I don't know who that is, but it was TJ Dillonshaw. And he like lives in California and Colorado. You probably don't know who that is, but he was like champion at the time. But right before we went and cleaned, he got in trouble for steroids.
Wow.
So kind of dampened it, but it was kind of cool. Like super, super close to here. But I can't really think of like,
I had an NDA one time that I did do because we're right on the border of Illinois and there's like rich parts of like Chicago. And we were doing a guy who was a football player, but the guy had like, he won a couple Super Bowls, but it was like in like the 80s and early 90s. And he had to sign an NDA. And I'm like, bro, no one cares about you anymore. Like you've been gone for so long. Like I get it, but like he still wanted to be like, yeah, you gotta sign this. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, bro.
I kind of feel like if I ever had a customer that asked that, I'd kind of be like, I guess I would do it if it was a really good ticket, but it would be, it's kind of weird. It doesn't happen much around here. It's not a very popular area.
I'm not out there talking about people's houses usually too much anyway, you know? So it's like, okay, you don't want me to talk about your house. I won't. I wasn't going to anyway. So
yeah. TJ, trying to get on this podcast is like landing on the moon. Sorry, man. I haven't heard from you yet. So we'll figure it out, dude.
We were so excited. 2 weeks ago, we were excited. It was all over the media.
Yeah.
It happened.
So you let me know, dude. You let me know. But yeah, VIP customers, that's the only thing you can really think about is the customers that really like you had tons of accounts for, or the homes that you know are good, or the homes that you're doing quarterly. And that's pretty much it.
I like it. I would rather, I'm not starstruck really either though. Like if I've ever met people who like the first time I met you, I was like, you know, like I wasn't like, oh my, you know, you didn't have hickeys then though. And I didn't.
I know this is bad.
But no,
Alex, yeah.
I don't. I mean, I've, you know, met people and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I know who that is. Like, you know, but like I've never been, you know, super starstruck. But for some people, I think that it's like really kind of a big thing. I'm more just excited to have just a genuinely awesome customer, just like somebody who's just genuinely awesome to deal with, you know, like low key, that's super rad, like cool, you know?
No, I agree. Yeah. Because sometimes too, like the people that feel they're very important as far as customers, like it's always been, you ever had that customer that you know is super picky and you know that like once you screw up, like it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like we had a customer, we cleaned her house every single month. And I bet if we would have ever screwed up just a little bit, it would have been like bad reviews everywhere. Yeah. It's like, you're always on that like teeter totter and it's a really weird sense. Yeah.
Those are the worst because now you know, you do good stuff. You know, you're doing good things, but you're like something ridiculous could happen and it would be all my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I can't think of any other customers like that, but it's just never fun. Never fun. Yeah. Well, if you guys have any questions in the chat, I don't know how many people are watching. Oh man, we're at our lowest in a long time. 16.
It's not summer. It's spring, man.
It is spring. I forget about that.
I'm sitting in my office and I'm like sweating and I have fans on. So it's getting there. Not you, because I heard somebody was talking to somebody about you today and they were like, it's like 38 today. And I was like, oh
man. Yeah, it's 52 here today.
Wow.
52. I think it was 30s this morning. May is like Colorado kind of sucks in that you only get about 4 good months of like warm weather from like June, July, August, September, and October. It can start snowing again. Like I've really realized how bad the seasons are here. I don't think I'll ever go back into full-time window clean because of it.
Literally, the reason that I like convinced myself that I had to move when I did move from Wisconsin was it was like the first week of June. I think it was the first day or second day. And I'm walking to work, like, you know, from where I park my car in my parking lot to the front door. I'm like, man, I don't even need a coat today. I like took the coat off. I'm like, yeah, like walking the door and my brain's like, but yet we haven't gone trick or treating sometimes because we had snow and that's in like 3 months. I was like, like you fool yourself thinking you have all this nice weather, you know, like, but when it's nice here, it's nice. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, crap. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. But now I'm in North Carolina and it's nice all the time. But I'm still cold when it's nice to other places.
But you never operated like the window cleaning business in North Carolina, right?
I did, but I did for like a year. I did. When I
Yeah.
was trying to do way too many things. I had my consulting still going from my last company and the way that our buyout was. I had started doing nights at WCR, and then I did that during the day on top of like everything
Okay.
else. It was like too many things all at one time. And it was
Right.
like not, I still had the uncertainty of if my business was going to fully sell, because it was a buyout like plan. And so I did, but it was like, I did have an emergency on my first year here, and it was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, one of those. And I was pressure washing a house. I'm like, this is crazy. Cause I'm from
Yeah.
Wisconsin. We're like, yeah, you can't pressure wash in November. But I was
Right.
like, yeah, this is crazy.
Well,
But
that's what I was going to ask is like, the difference between Wisconsin to North Carolina as far as you're able to go like the whole entire year. And if you experience that of just like the difference in just yourself of like the attitude of how it is, because I feel like so many of us that work in seasonal areas, I know I always looked at it as like, man, you could just go crazy from like
yeah,
early April all the way through pretty much Thanksgiving. And then you got that like break when the temperature just got super shitty. But I mean, I always kind of feel bad for the companies that just go all year because it is, it's physical work.
nice
I hope
to
you're
have
taking breaks, but I mean, it's a lot.
but the breaks are so much more valuable for you because you have to fit it in. You're a squirrel. So you're like doing like 10, 12-hour days every day, where like the guys that get to run it a little bit more a year, they're like, we work 8 hours. Like it's a
Yeah.
normal day. So it's not as needed. But even here, we're not like Florida, we're like snowbirdy kind of thing. We still get a winter, even if it's like a fake winter, but we still had the same, like, WCR, like you could see our charts. You could tell which months nobody's working, it's like, well, we're year round and there are year round places, but they're just not doing what everybody else is. So there still follows that kind of, spring boost, early spring,
Yeah.
summer kind of drops a little, fall picks up. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a question for everybody in the chat that we've been hearing like a lot about is, are you experiencing like a lull in work for May, or are you experiencing it to be a lot better in May? I've been talking to quite a few people that have been saying that they're kind of experiencing like a lull, like companies that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years. And they're like, I don't know. It's just the weather's nice. There's nothing to me. I mean, it is a, you know, as far as, oh my God, why can't I think of it? The elections this year. So people always kind of think about that as well. But like, I've been hearing that from a number of people that it's just lower than it usually is.
I would be interested because I'll die on this hill here. But if you're in the comments, you're watching right now, say either up or down. Just say one word so we can see it fast. Up or down. And that's if you're up or down this May versus last May. And you could do April. We'll do April because April was done. But I always think there's just like spots. Like it feels like, because you'll talk to somebody and be like, oh my gosh, we're going so crazy. I can't believe it. And they'll talk to the next guy and be like, I don't know what's going on this year. I just feel like and then like it switches. There's like, and it will be in the same relative area in the same 10-minute period. And you're like, okay, so either somebody sucks at like advertising, or is it really like business itself, And I don't think it's new people. I mean, they see new companies, but everybody's like, oh, it's because of the new people. I think that's just like something that people put out there. I think that the newer companies are coming in, they understand like how valuable it is to have like wraps on their vehicles and logoed shirts. So they are more noticeable, but I don't think there's more window cleaners now than there ever has been. I don't think.
No, you don't think there's what we talk about all the time as far as younger window cleaners is, just kind of residential could be a tiny bit more saturated. I do think so as far as kind of what we see. I think it could not anything commercial. There's none of these newer people that are younger going for anything commercial. They just don't want it,
Yeah. Look at Carlos. Carlos said lower in April, but up in May.
Nice.
We'll see. Maybe it is weather orientated, but
now, do you think that is, Carlos, because of like weather? Do you think that's just like whatever? There's no rhyme or reason to it. I'd love to know that as far as that goes. Because like Jeremy was saying, has the rain pushed your schedule back? And I know Texas was getting a good amount of rain, but everywhere gets a good amount of rain. It kind of sucks this time of year when, you have weather come up and your schedule's full. But then again, you kind of just deal with it, get a rain guarantee.
Yeah, Jeremy is killing it too. I always feel like every time we talk, like he's got some amazing stuff going on. So, I mean, and that's the thing, maybe it's area, maybe it's weather, but maybe it's, just like, oh man, it was going to be busy. So we didn't advertise like we were going to, or some people are like, well, I don't advertise at all. But then they'll say, I don't know, it's down. So then it's the people, not them, because they haven't done anything. So I don't know.
Exactly.
We're always trying to keep our finger on the pulse. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, we see it as far as like what I always find funny is every single year you have all your Northerners that like die off like right at the end of October on Thanksgiving. And then like for us, we don't hear from like that last person until like end of May. And then, like the whole entire season is in full swing. Everybody in the whole United States is going. But like Canada, I talked to quite a bit of people in Canada. 2 weeks ago, it was a blizzard there. Yeah. So then they have that. I think, my God, like how could you be a window cleaner in Canada? You only have like a few months and then it's freaking done.
Yeah. Well, and that too, when you talk about like weather and stuff, I mean, how many people have we talked to now that are like, hey, I just got my system out of storage and I'm just deep winterizing it. And it's like today. And it's like, man, you're in March already. Like there's other companies that start in like, or it's May. Well, there's other companies that start in March and they have more time. So it just kind of depends. And I think pivoting is big too, where, companies like ours, if you're not doing window cleaning, say November, December, maybe you should be doing Christmas lighting, because if you're in Christmas lighting, then you fill those spots. Well, okay, then what happens in late spring? Well, what if you get into so-and-so? It's like, so you kind of pivot to kind of find it. And I think some people are totally cool with just like, nah, I'm chilling. Like, I'm going to make sure everything's good for the season. And that's cool too.
Yep, exactly. I kind of feel like there's probably in our market, I wonder how many window cleaners or how many of like in this kind of business look at it as no matter what, I'm taking like 3 to 4 months off. Yeah. And that's what I work for. Like I work to be able to have that gap of time. Yeah. It may not, I don't even know how to identify, who would be like that, but I kind of wonder how much percentage of our market is like that.
I know a lot of people like that. That are like literally like November 1st is my day. November 31st is it. We do shutdown. We're coming back on, we start getting back in the office March 1st, and then we clean our first cleanings April. Like I know a lot of people like that, and they're just like, it's just revamp, everything. They take a few, weeks off. December is kind of their chill month, and then they come right back into it. And I'd like to know from TJ, because he's like, he said he's killing it, but I'd like to know if he just sees like he's going up, because he's more of a route guy. Like I would love to see kind of on that side, is he, I know he's killing it, but like, is it up from last year, and why he thinks it's up from last year versus, not, because it's
TJ's work would be some of my favorite work to do, as far as just pole work all day,
vibe,
Wendy's,
be in your own head and just hang out.
Yeah, it'd be so nice. And that's what like we talk about all the time, but that so many people don't know that have an experienced route. And typically it's hard to experience route sometimes without either working for somebody and seeing how nice it is. That's probably the best way to really learn how good it is. And then you'll feel really motivated. Yeah. It's really rough to build a route. Anybody I typically talk to about route, they're just like, I just don't want to build it. But look at TJ's doing most of the residential as far as that goes.
There you go. Routes,
but I know too,
because route, like just in general, you can't start making money in route for months because you have to build the route. People get a job and they're like, it's like $20. Or they say, I love this one. It was like, yeah, I'm getting in route, but I'm keeping my same minimum. And minimum is like $249. And it's like, all right.
Now I know that TJ's been doing a lot of soft washing with these homes. I would be interested in, has that picked up your ticket price quite a bit as far as that goes? Because I feel like we talk to so many soft wash, pressure washing guys that, want to add window cleaning. They're mostly just adding exterior cleaning, into it. But then if you also know the inside, you're giving like customers like the full entire works, perfect outside, clear views inside.
How many, since you talk to 100 window cleaners a day like I do, how many window cleaners would you say, hey, I'm starting a window cleaning business, but I'm only going to do outs? Is it like a surprising amount that says that to you?
Yeah, I would say that around 50% say that. And it's mostly of the worry of the liability of not wanting to go inside and not wanting to have to deal with just the inside in general, or 2 screens. Like they just don't want to have to deal with that. And like, I get it. Especially if you're only starting a window cleaning business, I don't get it. As far as not wanting to do insides and trying to sell that. But if you're doing exterior washing, I won't lie. I would love, if I ever one day this whole thing fell apart, I would probably just go into exterior washing, because it is nice. Like it's nice not to have to go inside. Cleaning windows is a lot nicer outside. Like every time you ever got an outside only job and you saw that it was like $225, you're like, 1 hour. I'm getting this thing done in 1 hour. I loved all of them.
Yeah, I don't have to move somebody's $7,000 white couch. You know, I don't have to talk to them about their, weird Pomeranian dog that just barks and bites me. Like, it's great, but I think you leave too much money on the table to make that make sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, the insides is just too, and we've said it on here a million times, but it's like where you really make the connection with your customer, though. Yeah. Like you're outside, it's like a simple like, hey, we're here. All right, great, good, done. And then, hey, can I get the check? All right, get it, bye. And it's as you go inside, you start asking about them. All of a sudden, you got the whole time you're cleaning inside, they're talking to you. You know.
By the way, if you're here, say hello, which state you're in, and what your temperature is. I want to get lots and lots of comments, and make sure to click the little heart for SteveO. But if you guys didn't know who Squeegee Life is in the chat, that is TJ from Squeegee Life podcast. And when we keep talking about him, super rad dude. But I think that's interesting when you see he's done dicking around with like small storefront work, which I always assumed he was a route guy, and he's like making the merge. So I'd love to know that. I mean, I love houses. I think that there's a place for everything, but houses have that better kind of ticket, maybe price. And maybe he pivoted, but he said he's killing it. So maybe that was a smart move. Maybe it was right.
TJ, did you sell your routes? We should have had TJ on here. There's so many questions for TJ.
Look at this. So Jeremy, no, right below that, Carlos, Texas 81. Jeremy said 90 degrees. Lee is Oklahoma. He's got tornadoes. So I guess the tornadoes make it a little cooler, but 70 there. Tyler, 79 in Georgia. Florida 80 degrees from KD. And you said what? It's like 50?
It's 54 right now.
Blech.
Yeah, dude. May is just one of those months here where you either have a super nice May, but in the May it's gonna be hot as shit. But like right now, it's just May 1st, my birthday. I've had more snow on my birthday than not had snow on my birthday.
That's crazy.
It's just what happens. I want to get this question from Carlos. If you only do exteriors, do you ever get callbacks because all they see is inside dirt, grime windows? Yes, you do, because they always
all
use
think
windows.
Their own windows are clean. That's what it is. Because you go, it's on the inside. They're like, no, it's not. I did those myself.
They still think they're a better window cleaner than you. It's just they didn't want to get on the ladders. That's what they didn't want to do. So yeah, you get callbacks, not all the time, but I mean, it definitely happens. And then they're the worst because you'll say to them, well, it's due to that, like your insides weren't cleaned professionally, so they're streaky. I don't want to tell you. No. You're wrong. And you have to go back, you have to take a cloth, and you have to remove the haze of there, and you see the clean window outside. And
they go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. Well, it's an hour of my day.
How guilty are you, though, or anybody in the chat, of doing an outside only job, and you see stuff out the window, you're like, I should probably get that if it was inside and out, but it's going to be fine. They're not going
to. That's like when you're behind screens, especially if you take a screen and you're like, oh man, like that, something happened on that window. There was like burn or something. You're like, screen back up. All right. Well, the screen will darken it up. By the way, Neff is 71 in Minnesota. What do we else have? By the way, there's so many people that are commenting this episode, which is fantastic. So if you are here,
thank you.
Tell us your state, tell us your temperature, because we want to make Steve realize he should have moved instead of buying a new mansion there in Colorado.
Not a mansion.
You can get elevators anywhere, man.
That's true. Well, this one's special.
It's true.
I need to get an elevator for my desk so I can actually have an elevator.
There you go.
I guess this goes up a little bit.
Oh, see? And all you people thought I was lying about his elevator.
Goodbye, everybody.
We're going to floor 3. By the way, if you're here in the comments, who does clean a house with an elevator? Because
I cleaned a mountain house with an elevator, and that was pretty cool.
They're like creepy elevators, though. If you're ever creeped out on elevators, go find yourself a residential elevator, and you're like, oh, this is like a closet that moves.
Yeah.
This is not creepy. Good. I don't like this.
Some accordion door, it's they're never that great. I don't understand it in homes, but I mean, if you had a big old mansion,
you know what it is they're like, I'm going to grow old in this house. And then they get to a certain point. They're like, it's too much to upkeep. I'm going to leave anyway. And now you're stuck with an elevator.
Yeah. Exactly.
Better than those little robot chair things that go up the railing, and
those are so awesome. Those are so great. It's like a little.
You ever had a customer like, oh, hold on, I'm coming. And you're
standing there in Wisconsin.
okay. And they're like, takes them like 20 minutes to get down there. They're like, all right, give me a second. Like, wow.
You ready? You ready to get paid now? Let me go back upstairs and get my checkbook.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot a pen. Duh, I'll give you a pen. Stay here. Please don't use your little robot chair again.
Oh, it's so great. I had something else to share when I was laughing. I can't think of what it was. It was important. It was so important. Let's see here. What else is going on in the springtime? Anybody
Here's the thing that's huge that we should talk about.
What
is getting systems up and running, and how many people don't understand how a pure water system works, or when the filter should be changed, or like what happens, or any of that.
Okay.
Which is pretty shocking, but I understand it too. It's kind of all new, you know?
Let's ask the chat. Let's see what everybody in the chat says. What is the average amount of time that if you have a multi-stage system, how often do you change your pre-filter, your carbon sediment filter? Or if you have a sediment and then the carbon filter, how often are you changing those?
We have, nobody in this chat is who we've mentioned between each other, but there's been times where like I had a guy who bought a system in 2021, and he's like, oh, I need to change the filters. I'm like, oh yeah, which filters? Did you have enough of the pre-filters? Which one's that? Oh, the one you're changing out every, I won't say it to ruin this, but this frequency. And he's like, oh, I've never changed anything. And I'm like, you bought this in 2021. You've not changed anything? And he's like, should I be? What is your TDS? He's like, I don't know what TDS is. And I'm like, wow, what are you doing? I don't even know how to do that.
Okay, so mostly everybody is right on. TJ says once a month. Katie says every 3 to 6 months, regardless of use. But hey, you know, if the biggest thing with pre-filters is that if it gets really gunked up, like if you see it and it's black, orange, red, it's decreasing the flow through the system. I know so many people here in this chat know what we're talking about, but this is a good thing if someone listens to this and doesn't know.
How many times has somebody goes, oh, my RO, something's clogging it. And like, oh, cool, let's change your pre-filter first. They're like, no, that's fine. It's it's like your pre-filter is what dictates the pressure that's allowed into the system. And if you already limit it, it's not enough and trying to get somebody to change a filter that they don't think it is almost like, I know it's fine. Okay. I know you know it's fine, but do me a favor, just pop it out of the system. Set it off to the side, close it back up, run it. We'll run it for 2 minutes. We won't mess anything up. Wow, great pressure. Okay. Now we know. Now we know what it
is. So easy. Okay, next question. So let's talk about the workhorse of the system, of any multi-stage system, a reverse osmosis membrane. How often do you think an RO needs to be changed? But two, what is the carbon filter doing to protect it from? What is it protecting it from that ruins an RO?
SteveO, the science guy.
Yeah. No one said it yet. No one said it yet.
I like that. I do like these questions, because what is kind of interesting with a lot of it is that sometimes we just assume that people go figure this stuff out, and it's not like blatant, because it's all like, I mean, especially with filters, how many times have you been doing something like, oh, it's not right, I'm just changing everything. When was the last time you changed it? It doesn't matter. It's not doing something now. I don't care. Something I got into. I mean, I've done sediment filters or carbon filters, just a pre-filter in general on the system. This was on the IPC hydro cart. This is way back when. I clogged the sediment side of that in one job. I literally changed it that day, the day before, and preparing to use it that day, just changed it in normal maintenance. And by the end of that job, I had to change it out again. There was some kind of like weird slime in the hose or something. I always flush the hose out first before I connect it, which I found out is amazing, because I've seen frogs and bees and everything else in there, lizards. But just doing that helps. But it was one job, and I didn't be like, oh, this filter's broken. I was like, oh, I got to change it. It did what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. I try to tell people all the time, like, don't, like, if it just fills up in one job, it fills up one job. That's it.
Did its job.
Yep, exactly. Okay, and now where did I go to? Yep, so many people said chlorine. I knew Katie would know it. Or mental problems. You know, that's what Jeremy said. Now, here's a fun question for you: is who here in the chat has heard of chloramine? What is chloramine? Let's see.
There's another one.
What would that do?
That's odd.
Chloramine's very new.
Yeah.
It's not very new. It's newer in the past couple of years. If you don't know what it is, I'll wait till the comments come in a little bit. But this is basically, I believe what it is it's ammonia and then chlorine together at a lower rate.
Yeah.
Don't. I might be right on that, but I know that it's in a mix with ammonia. I'm pretty sure, and it's a more inexpensive way to clean water. And so there's a lot more places starting to use this, which is why a lot of the systems on the market today start selling chloramine filters. Chloramine filters will ruin your system so fast.
Not chloramine filters, but chloramine.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, chloramine. So if you're in an area and you know you have chloramines, you can simply just get a chloramine pre-filter. What are you going to share?
I was going to say, what's interesting with that is that, do you remember like 3-4 plus years ago, all of a sudden it's like a lot of systems were like, it's just like the RO's going or something. And we're like, you can't, it's almost impossible to have a bad RO. Just the way that they're made is just so many. It's like, it has to be, you know, a billion pieces have to be bad to make this thing bad. It's like having bad resin. It's just doesn't exist. Right. But we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure it out until we started talking with the water people. And that's when this chloramine stuff kind of came out. And it was like, oh, chloramines can actually sneak through a carbon filter, and they do the same thing that a chlorine does to a membrane and starts deteriorating it. So guys are just randomly going like, man, it's like every 6 months I got to get a new membrane. And it was like, didn't make sense. You put a $20 filter in, all of a sudden it's like, boom, we're back to normal. Oh, crap. Okay.
There are areas of Texas, and I'm not sure if anyone in the chat is in these areas, where consistently the TDS is anywhere from 1,200 to like 1,900, and it's everywhere. Those are the levels, or those are the areas for some reason, and I don't know if it's chloramine or what, but it seems like they just burn through ROs, unfortunately, and that's almost a place where you're like, do I do it? Do I not do it?
Does it work? It's like, yes, but you're gonna go through it. But it's still going to work. I still personally, like if I got to change my resin out every month, or say I get 2 weeks out of my resin, I'm still 1,000% going to spend $40. Like, what is that? $20 a week to use a water fed? 1,000% would still do that, just for the time savings, but the sanity of like my knuckles don't hurt every day because I'm using water fed. So I still would use it even at $20 every week.
Connor Teal asked, do you know if Texas is high chloramine level? So yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about, is that we do see it primarily there, Arizona, Florida a little bit. I know it's in Oklahoma, but the simple thing you can do is you can reach out to your local water plant and just ask. And that's the best thing to do.
It's becoming more and more. So there's like a map, like with TDS, you can find kind of like averages that are reported by the EPA and everything. But like chloramines, they could literally one day your municipality is like, hey, look at this research I just found, we should do this. And then they switch, and that's it. They don't have to get approval for anything. And then people like us who try to sell systems to clean the water even more don't know about it. So, but here's the other trick, is that you can take on any RODI system that has a pre-filter, which every single one in history does, pop that thing out. It's a $12.99 filter, throw it away. When you go to change it, just put a chloramine in instead. And it does everything the carbon does for $20.99 versus $12.99. Yeah. And boom, now you're protected.
Next question for DI resin. Does DI resin change color with use?
This is the big one. Just let me rephrase that. This is ones that I've gotten more actual people like, yeah, you just don't know, but
I can't say anything until some of the answers come in.
Today I had that, by the way.
Yeah.
I
screwed it up a long time ago. I'll be honest. I made a video a long time ago about how to change resin, and I opened it up. I was like, "Oh, you see that black resin right there? That changed color, and that's done. You don't want to use." I was like,
you know what though?
That video.
The thing is I'm gonna. If you haven't, don't listen. If you haven't responded, please respond. Everybody put it in there. But the thing is, where this gets people is that resin does change color sometimes, but it has no correlation with the chemical impregnation of the resin bead. So even if it turns black, that's just because of stuff that was in the water and how long the water sat and everything else. But it has no correlation to if the resin is spent or not. So yes, it changes, but no, it doesn't have anything to do with that.
And no matter how it looks is never a way for you to judge if it's good or not. I had that come up today. So here's another fun fact or fun question. At what TDS level on your TDS meter do you usually change out your resin? Are you a 1 type of person, or are you a 30 to 40s type of person? I will say this while you come up with your answers in the chat. I would say about 3 to 4 veterans who I think are the best water-fed pullers I've ever met in my whole entire life. No. And I'm not even, and they're not on social media. They're not a part of any of this stuff. They will do water-fed pull up to 30 and 40 with perfect results. So, and they've all been doing water-fed for like 15, 20 years. And there's not even a question.
Yes, so my water out of the tap in my house right now, the spigot on the back of my house. I know, because every time we got new poles, this is way back when, I would just beta test and like try them out when we were trying different brands and stuff. I would just plug the pole right into my hose because I'm like, oh, I don't need to have results. I'm trying to see how stiff they are and what they felt like. Never did I leave spots, and it's 44 on my tap.
Oh, wow.
But now you can go to like Arkansas, Vegas, some of those places where like they have like 20 and it will spot because of what those 20 are versus like some of the other ones. But yeah.
And I have to say is John Lee used to be in North Carolina, right?
Tennessee, real close, right on the border. Yeah.
But didn't he used to be in South or North?
Well, yes. Yeah, this is like 25 years ago. Yeah.
Because I remember him saying that about North Carolina. He's like, that's the one area where you could literally just hook up to the spigot and wash all the windows and just be good. Like,
I still doing my own windows now, still connect systems because in my brain, I'm like, I don't want to get done with this whole stinking thing and then be like, oh crap. So I still do that, but you should never look for one, or I don't think anybody should ever change resin under 10 ever. Because it just doesn't make sense. No. Like 0 to 10 is the exact same thing.
Yeah. I just had a really, really good one. Oh, I can't think of it. Do you have a good one?
Another question. I'm reading. I'm like, my eyes are over here reading everybody. Everybody is like really, really going in. So
let's see. Oh, this is an interesting comment from KD. RO being 30 to 50 is not the same as DI resin being 30 to 50. Very important to understand. Can you elaborate, KD?
I would like to know more on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I take the understanding of that pure water is pure water. Like once you've created a certain level of pure water, like, sure, could you maybe go into it super, super microscopically or whatever the word would be for that and like really look into every little thing into it? I don't know.
You're talking about parts per million though. So like, what's the difference between 1 part per million and 10 parts per million? So like when people are like, hey, I just got the system, it was running 0 and now it's running 1. Okay, cool. It's awesome. No. But why is it running 1? Like you're arguing like facts that they're not, because it appears different doesn't mean that it is different. You're still ultra pure. It's still the exact same thing. It could be running 9 and I would be like, sweet, you're perfect. Keep going.
Now, Katie said something interesting. The filtration methods are different compared to RO and DI. It's entirely different. Yes, it is entirely different. But I would only say to agree to disagree in that TDS is TDS.
Yeah.
Once you get to 0, if you get to 0 from a DI tank or 0 from an RO, are we going to say that's different?
Yeah.
Because it was done through a different process? No.
One of the interesting things even of that is if your TDS is low enough, you can have a RO only system, which is if you just take the DI out, because again, so a typical RO is going to be 90 to 95% efficient. Say it's nice summer weather. I could get 95% out of that. 90% of 40 TDS means I'm still only getting 10. And that's what we just said was pure. Or wait, no, I did that wrong. Math wrong. Lower than that. Yeah, I was doing a quarter. Way lower than that. So like in that same side is that there's places the guy's resin will run out and they'll be like, oh, it's still fine. And I've had my resin for 1.5 years. And it's like, well, your resin isn't fine. Your resin's not doing anything anymore. Your RO is doing it. So
great question from someone I think that is in here listening to all this chat. They don't know what we're talking about. What does RO mean in the chat? If you could say what RO means, and what does DI mean?
I like the one when we ask DI because people get that wrong all the time. There's like 1,000 versions of people saying different things. Because when people call us and they're like, hey, I'm looking for one of those machines, and they tell you what they think it is, and you're like, I think I know what you're talking about, but that's not, we're not.
One of those machines from the Ghostbusters. Yeah. So we're doing that question as far as that goes. Reverse OS. That's good. To each their own. What works for me in Florida may not work for you. I'm not the only guy in my area with just RO and no problems with spy. No, I think it's great. Like that RO only, and no, I have no issues with that. And exactly, like if you're using RO only and that's getting you down to where you don't spot at, and I know you have tons of experience, it's awesome. Like, trust me. I think whatever makes you pure water and makes like the efficiency of your jobs better, do it. And man, if I could do RO only, RO typically in my area, I get down to 2 to 3. I haven't replaced my resin in 3 years.
What's crazy, actually, when you talk about states are so big and so different that like you and your neighbor can have different water, but in Colorado, there's places that are ultra soft and places that are ultra hard. Not crazy hard, but you'll get 300, 350 out of a tap in Colorado, when there's other places that are getting like under 100 in Colorado. And then they go, well, yeah, but we have all that mountain water. It's all pristine. It's like, well, pure water is pristine, but so is regular water. It just has minerals in it. Minerals have never been bad. Water goes through rock. Like that's why wells always have more TDS than city water, because there's no filtration. You're just getting all that mineral water that's in there, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Henry
asked what?
I was gonna say, what's the highest TDS that you've ever seen, by the way? Like just in your travels, not just where you are.
1600. That was the max. That was it.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, it was it. And I remember I hooked up, I clogged my sediment filter at this job. Like the exact same thing happened. It was a day where it was like 32 degrees. It clogged up everything. And I just shut it off. And then I asked the construction guy, I said, hey, the TDS is super high. Do you just have another outlet I could hook up to? And they had another outlet that was 50. So they just, they had two outlets on the house, and that's what it was. But that's the most that. And then I was up at like a mountain home one time off of a well, 1500, you know, but man, like down to 2 to 3, used it for hours. It was awesome. It was great.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So there's not like there's never like a TDS level that you can't use these systems at. We get that question a lot. Like, can I actually use these systems in hard water areas? And that's where your RO is there to be meant for, as far as that goes. We didn't get a lot of answers as far as what people would know. We did as far as that goes. RO, not a lot of answers with that. Maybe everybody knows reverse osmosis. Yes.
Reverse osmosis. What does DI stand for? They're scared to say that.
Huh?
They're scared to say what the DI is, because everybody says deionizer or
deionization.
DI, yeah. They're like, you know, whatever. It's the resin, and yeah. Hey, do you guys sell those ionizers? I think I know what you're saying, but no.
There's so many people asking, what the heck are we talking about? I've always found when you run a pump through the RO, it will also lower TDS. You are 100% correct, Katie. That is 100% correct. I was literally talking to someone about that with the new max power system we have that has the booster pump on it. And they were saying, well, if I get this, I'm going to go through the filters quicker. Well, it's putting more GPD through your ROs, but you're also getting a lower TDS. And like, that's literally one of the troubleshooting things we do. So it's great you mentioned that, Katie, and that if someone has a higher TDS coming out their ROs, run a booster pump. That will help. That will help push more water through the ROs and help you get a lower TDS. It's crazy, but it just works.
Yeah. It's the efficiencies of, like, depending on what kind of RO, but like the HX or XE1s, the efficiency was 100 PSI. No one's taps doing 100. So people just normal without a pump weren't getting the most efficiency. As soon as they add a pump, they get to that efficiency level, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, it's doing even better. And it's like, you got more flow, you got more PSI, and you're getting less. Your TDS is lasting longer because you're forcing that water through those membranes even better, more efficiently at that 100. Now I think the HF6, I think, is on. I think that's 70 PSI. I think.
XE3.
XE3? No.
Yeah. XE3 is an 80 PSI, 3,500 gallons.
I was in the HF series. Yeah.
Yeah. Katie, I wanted to answer to this question. The only reason I'm even saying anything, my friend uses just DI. When he gets to 10 to 15, he will spot. I will run my RO at 20 to 30 max. It doesn't spot. There's one thing I always think about with like DI compared to RO. So an RO output is going to be a lot less, which is going to give you less like bounce back of water from like less splashing. Yeah. One bad thing about DI that a lot of people get into is you get really good flow, right? You get really good pressure, but you also get tons of this splashback, and you get very like, oh, I just go through this job. I've done it, and I've gotten that from DI because a lot of people think you need this crazy, crazy amount of flow, and you really just need a good, thorough rinse. Like you just need a good arc to get it rinsed off, and that's it. So I don't know.
In 10 TDS, there's not anywhere, because even where I'm thinking of like Arkansas, there's a couple places that have like really, you go like 20. Even at 10 is not spotting anywhere. So your friend who's getting spotting is not from the water, it's from him, unfortunately. So it's just the water's not, or the minerals aren't in the water, but they're coming from somewhere else. So the splashback is like he didn't scrub the frames well enough, or it splashed a little bit on the siding, or it's just picking stuff up. There's a lot of weird things. Even if you have cloudy skies and the water's not drying off fast enough and you got a lot of crap in the air, that water that sits on the glass can suck up minerals from in the air and actually spot the glass. And that's pure water.
Nice. I just have a crazy sound happening. Connor asked, what size squeegee do you use for commercial?
That's a good question.
I really like 18s. I just like 18s because 18s fit in a bucket on a belt well, and you don't have to get a bunch of crazy size of rubbers. 22 is nice. Anything really bigger than that gets not the most fun to hold on your belt or to put in your bucket. 18,
no matter the size of the window, was always the biggest we ever ran, was 18s. Yeah. I know some guys that run the 36s in the big commercials. We had these giant windows that we did them weekly, and they were 10 foot tall. And they're like, you got to get these big. And I'm like, I'm not buying 36-inch rubbers so I can do one straight swipe and then have to detail. I'm just going to fan the thing like I normally do, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Jeremy asked, have you guys done any high rise since you guys got trained together? We have not. We really like, I know for me, going to that was awesome to see what high rise window cleaners get into.
Yeah.
Even yourself, Jeremy. And what the cool thing about it is that it also gave us the ability of that when someone calls in and they want to get into high rise, a number of people that call in to get to high rise have no clue. They literally have a project in front of them and they're like, oh, let me get some gear and I'll get off the side of this building and I'll clean some windows and it'll be all good without any training. So if anything, it gives us more of the experience to tell them like, hey, you should really look at this, this and that, because there's a lot you need to really respect. Like you need to respect it and know exactly what you're doing before you just go jump into it. So it's nice because we get to hand off a lot of people to different training programs and, get them the right resources for it. So, but I have no reason to do it anymore.
Here's a great question by Tyler Berry, who just said, what's the difference in the Xero Pro, Micro, and Destroyer?
Pro is always going to be a longer collapse pull, and that you have the Xero Pro Basic, you have the Xero Pro Ultralight, and then technically Xero Destroyer is a Pro model, even though it doesn't say Xero Destroyer Pro. But it's a little bit different in that it has the same amount of sections as a Micro. But Pro is really good pretty much in basic carbon fiber or ultra high mod up to 50 feet. And then your Destroyer, though, is just a whole nother tier of ultra high mod, which is the small difference between 40T and 46T carbon fiber. So like when you see a high mod pole on the site and it's, let's say my pole is $1,399, and then you look at a Destroyer and it goes up to $2,099. The biggest price difference there is the tinsel used for it. But then also you have a lot thicker wall with the Destroyer, you have a longer overlap with the Destroyer. So the Destroyer is going to be your best water-fed pole choice, but also the most expensive. Yeah. But then the Micro is just the best residential pole, like 1,000, the best residential pole.
And you can get the Micro in a Destroyer class. So then you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And Micro is one of really good poles in that you can shed sections, in that if you want to use like a 20-foot pole, you could shed off the bottom two sections so you have end defenders on every other section. And it's also a very rigid pole due to the smaller sections compared to a Pro. So that's probably your biggest difference. Like a Xero Pro Basic 30 is 6 sections. A Xero Micro is 9 sections. Xero Pro 30 is going to collapse to 72 inches. A Xero Micro is going to collapse to 54 inches. So if you have a smaller vehicle, like right now with my truck in my like toolbox, I can just put my Micro right in there and it just lays right in. So it's right. Super nice. Yeah.
What's I think we've talked about this before, but for anybody who doesn't know, you get to pick one system, one pole, and one accessory. What would it be? Money's no object. You just won the lottery at WCR. What would it be?
Xero Pure Max, Xero Destroyer, Xero Bore Hair. That's it.
Nice. Say that again. A Max?
A Max, Xero Pure Max, Xero Destroyer, and a Bore Hair brush.
Nice.
I could do a lot with that.
I would have to go Max, Destroyer, and a reel with hose on it.
Okay.
Because I mean, I like a hybrid brush, and boar's hairs are nice, but I'd rather have that movement where I don't have to move the system. Those would be my 3. What's your 3? If you're watching or listening, we only got a few minutes left. Tell me what your golden 3 would be.
Oh, here we go. Here's a good question while everyone's saying that. I don't know what your name is on here, but I got a question on the valve on the Xero Pure 4-stage single unit. How much water should discharge from the discharge line? Because at a customer's house and the water was spraying to 20 to 30 feet. So your water was probably spraying 20 to 30 feet because you didn't have the wastewater hose on it that like redirects it away and kind of stops that lower pressure. So on these waste valves, they have like this little ring in it. And if you look in there, you'll kind of see like probably like 6 little holes around it. So like when you put your finger on the end of a hose and it just makes that spray go so much further, that's kind of like what it's doing. So that's why it looks like it's more pressure than what's coming out of the output, but the output doesn't have a restrictor, so you get more volume. So just put your wastewater hose in there and kind of redirect it. As far as that goes.
A little trickle. Old man going to the bathroom, but it will be 50-50, by the way.
Yeah, 50-50. Sometimes restricting it, you never want to fully restrict it. And the funny thing is about restricting it is sometimes if you restrict it, you'll actually see even less flow out of your DI output, which is a very interesting thing. So it's kind of fun to mess around with every once in a while. Just never completely stop it.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Sturdy Brother Zero asked, where would you all recommend getting your equipment? What would you say, Josh?
I heard of this place called Window Cleaning Resource. Window Cleaning Resource. I heard is the absolute best place on the planet. And I heard that SteveO, the window cleaner, even shops there. That's how amazing it is.
Yeah. Many yes. Katie Window Cleaning at SteveO. My boar hair brush is shedding. My Xero boar's hair is shedding. It's been a long time since they used a boar hair. Do they stop shedding? They do stop shedding. If you want, well, it's going to happen.
Get less shedding, if you will.
They wear out. But a good thing to do sometimes with a boar hair brush when you first get it, and it's going to sound crazy, is actually like comb through it like a baby doll and then put it in a bucket of pure water and then just take it out and let it dry. It's really weird, but that like really helps get a lot of that stuff out. But it does happen, I think, with any boar hair brush. There was actually like a year and a half ago, someone was complaining about Tucker brushes. And there was actually a really good video that I would have to say that Sean Gavin did at the time, where he really went thoroughly through and explained just the whole entire process of how boar hair is put into the block, how it comes from the factory, and simply that sometimes in the factory, they don't comb through that hair very well. So, that's sometimes why you see quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing that people always worry about that too. And they go, well, my customers are going to complain. No, they're not, because as soon as the window dries, the hair is dry and it blows off. There's no, if it's sticking to the glass, something else is on there. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. But I would still 1000% rather use a boar's hair brush and worry about them shedding than not using one.
But you're also leaving your signature on jobs like this. When a window cleaning goes back, they say, that was KD. He was here.
This is why I don't use the same toilet right after you use it, because you leave all your signatures all over it. I'm like, oh, it goes here.
Tyler Berry, do you recommend cleaning boar hair brush after using? If it was like a really dirty job, and let's say I saw just a bunch of dirty water dripping from the bristles, I would usually bring the pole down, just disconnect the hose at the top, kind of flush out the brush. But after a day of work, I never, try to put it in a bucket unless it was just super dirty with like a little bit degreaser, but that was it.
I've had them. We did like a semi lot, where they're like parking trucks and stuff, and those get greasy. And just when you're done with that job, you pop it off, put it in a bucket with a little simple green, working it with your thumbs, and you're back up and running.
Yep.
Pretty
exactly.
Yeah. I did whenever we had lots of cobwebs, because we were on the Lake Michigan, obviously, but this is bad. And I don't ever recommend anybody to do this, but this is how we did it. Was we'd pull it off the glass, and you get too many webs, and you would put it on the siding, like the brick, and you would just go up and down, and it would like pull the cobwebs off, and you go right back to using it. You shouldn't do that, because you could pick up some little, schnaggles from the brick, but that's how we always got the cobwebs off. Or in all of our trucks, we had hair picks, and then when we get back to the truck, we just pick the brush a little bit to get all the cobwebs, and all the spiders come out and bite you, and then you're on to the next one.
Man, there you go. So you never just take a cobweb duster around, just do a real quick one over like around the house? That's what I did. If I saw a bunch of cobwebs, but I'm also a super dry environment, so it was like pew, pew, pew.
We had so many cobwebs. Like every place had cobwebs and big balls of like baby spiders in there. Spring, dude, your hands look like you're a leper because you just had so many spider bites on you. You're like, yeah.
Oh man, not fun. Well, we are here towards the end of the show, and we truly appreciate everybody stopping by. It was a lower show, but we always kind of expect that during this time of year. Everyone's super busy. I bet there's still people working. I bet there's people getting ready for tomorrow. So I hope your all season is going spectacular. So do you have something to share?
I do. If you're here and you're not subscribed, I can see all of you people who are here and not subscribed. I know who you are. Go ahead and subscribe to Steve of the Window Cleaners channel. He is trying to get to 3 million subscribers, and he's not going to get there if you don't subscribe. So do that. Thumbs up, of course, on the videos, and hearts like you guys are doing. That helps all the algorithms, helps everything there. Check out all this stuff. It's awesome. Also, if you haven't yet gotten your subscription to the American Window Cleaner magazine, go to awcmag.com. And yes, it's a real paper magazine. And yes, it is really mailed to your door. So go and do that. And now you have something to read on the toilet.
Yes. Very, very fun. Window cleaning 24/7. Just engulf yourself in window cleaning all the time. Alrighty, y'all. Go Nuggets, Timberwolves, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.